but now Caruso goes to OKC. And so, Rob, I think this is a good point to talk about the other side of this trade.
Yeah, for me, they are the most interesting team of the offseason. And I think we can start as a transition point here with the fact that it's now been articulated by the Thunder and by Sam Presti that Josh Giddey basically requested to be moved, that there was a conversation internally about what his role was going to be. The Thunder are saying that they saw a vision for him coming off the bench, which I'm inclined to agree with, that's probably
Rob,
what Josh Giddey's...
Can I ask you something?
Let's do it.
Let's just say hypothetically, J-Dub requested to be moved. Would his request be accommodated?
I don't suspect it would.
Absolutely.
It seems like a mutual agreement.
Go on.
I think there would be an intervention. Here's the thing. I think there would be a lot of conversation, a lot of trying to talk him down, talk him out of it. Josh Giddey, given the run he just had, requests to be moved. Let's make some calls. Let's see if we can. Let's see.
Like Jalen Williams.
Well, but they can't all be dogs. But if Josh Giddey's best role is coming off the bench, and I kind of think that's what his future in the NBA will ultimately be, then the Thunder are wise to move on at this particular point. And I think that's part of why the Bulls, from the Bulls angle, it's why we're a little bit skeptical of some of the return here. But the Thunder are turning that particular page. And now, in similar fashion as that you expressed, Waz, of like, what's the next domino? Where do the Thunder go from here this offseason? Because they don't have their own free agents to worry about. I can't quite put a finger on why, but I don't suspect Gordon Hayward is going to be coming back. So they don't have to worry about that.
Can we talk about the Caruso fit really quickly in OKC?
Let's do that, yeah.
Which I think is gangbusters. The fact that like this guy might come off the bench behind Lu Dort, that you could play them together, that you could now trade Lu Dort if you needed to. Like, I don't know. This seems like pretty clear cut from their side.
Well, the team that just led the league in steals just got one of the foremost piranhas who's just going to be feasting off of this. Of like the frenzy of Shea and Dort and Caruso in particular, and the pressure that they can apply in space, in the passing lanes, on the ball. That's a tremendous fit. And as you're saying, the kind of dual insurance of Caruso and Dort for each other, whether it's one of them doesn't quite match up ideally against an opposing star, and so you go to the other one, both can pick up like nagging injuries here and there. And so now you don't maybe need to worry about the fact that you're going to be completely without one of your go-to stoppers if you have two of them. If Caruso continues to hit shots at the rate he hit shots from the perimeter last season, he's going to be everything that the Thunder want and need him to be.
Yeah, and what I like about this too is that in the Dallas series, you could tell, especially because they weren't making shots at a very crazy high clip or getting shots off in that regard anyway. Isaiah Joe and Wiggins, like some of those minutes left you wanting. So the idea that Caruso just comes in and he becomes like a defensive solve, like leaning in on the defense in a way that suggests that they're like, look, we got Shea. We're not worried about generating quality offense, man. Like, I love the fact that they're just like, we really believe in our MVP candidate. And we don't need to surround him with a crazy amount of offense to make something hum. We need to put some dominant defensive groups out there, and we're going to kick people that way. I love that idea because they just get scrappier and nastier and tougher with this move, which, you know, obviously that's right up my alley. I'm a barroom brawl type of guy, back alley type of guy, y'all.
Well, yeah, I think you made the point there where like they're putting Joe and Wiggins out there for shooting in the playoffs, but now you have a shooter in Caruso who's around 40% over the past few years, and then you get one of the best wing defenders in the NBA on top of that. He was like, what, I believe second team all defense, right behind Herb Jones. And so like
first in our hearts though, Justin.
I can't imagine a better fit for what they want to be. And on top of that, they still have all this money to where if you want to go out and get a big to protect Chet, or like you want to swing a big trade even, they have so many opportunities to do so. And so I wonder, do you guys think there's like a clear path here? Would you prefer them now that they have Caruso in-house? They're building this nice little depth chart here. Would you want them to still go Lauri Markkanen hunting? Or is this more of like, hey, let's actually just go give Hartenstein the bag, give Nick Claxton the bag for 2 years. Let's just get a stopgap and just like be us plus some of these other guys.
I personally like the Lauri Markkanen or OG Anunoby pursuit a little bit more than adding a big. And if you are going to add a big, I want to do it with the complete understanding internally and externally. Like with that player, you're coming off the bench. And when push comes to shove, we want to have Chet on the floor as our 5. And maybe that pushes you out of the Isaiah Hartenstein market and into like the Jakob Poeltl trade market or something, right? Maybe it adjusts the parameters slightly and you're going towards more someone who's like a borderline starter and more someone who's more of like a probably best served as a reserve at this point in their career. And all that can be well and good. But I'm looking at that 4 spot. I'm looking at, like who is the next Josh Hart is something I've been thinking about a lot this offseason. And I say that, a gamer who can punch above their weight, who can play across the positional spectrum, who can completely change the rebounding dynamic in a game, even as a wing player. If they could find someone who can do some of those things, I think they could be really well served, even without adding more quote unquote size, because they're just going to play bigger. So this is what makes the Thunder so interesting to me is they have those options. They can go for forwards. They can go for bigs. They obviously just added a guard that opens up all kinds of interesting lineups for them, especially on the defensive end. But they have more draft capital at their disposal than any other team. And with that, it makes them have the greatest capacity to surprise us in what they do. Because they can chase after basically anybody, whoever they think is the best conceptual fit for what they've got. And the framework of what they have is open to anyone who can basically dribble and shoot. And that's a pretty wide range of player and a wide range of star that for people like us who are trying to forecast their moves makes them very confusing, but very exciting.
So in terms of what they could do going forward, the only reason I love the marketing thing, because it is a response to their lack of girth, in the sense that any team that's big enough to hurt us with their size, marketing will make them extremely hard to guard. So if you want to be one of those big bludgeoning teams, as we watched in the finals with Dallas, who did out physical and out big man them in the second round of the playoffs, Dallas had a hard time guarding a spread out team. And marketing will make them a legitimate 5 out,
Totally.
Pass, dribble, shoot at all 5 position threats. Like that, to me, that is an effective response. Being like, you know what? We can't handle your size, but you can't handle our perimeter abilities, right? To me, that's a more creative way of going at it than just saying, look, somebody like say Jonas, who I still like Valanciunas, and I do love that he's a big bruiser, being like, you know what, this is how we fix our big man and girth issue by bringing Jonas in. This is like, no. We're gonna make it hard for them to stay big. Language there was weird, but we're gonna make it difficult for them to stay with all that size on the interior by spreading guys out. I love that as an idea. I wonder if they'll pursue that this offseason, or guys, if Sam Presti, which has been his kind of MO, will be like, you know what, Caruso was incremental enough. Let's see what we could do with this, and then tackle the rest next offseason.
I tend to think that we all want Laurie for them, but what Presti wants for them is to just be who they are and to just steadily, methodically build into those 3 guys and just add as much around them as possible. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it's more of like a Hartenstein. Although the free agent big market, pretty shallow out there, because I don't think Claxton, for instance, gives them what they need. No. He's a little too frail, and I think you want someone with a little bit more heft. But after that, it's just then we're just getting into the dime a dozen sort of big pile. And we might as well just go out and trade for someone's backup big at that point, just to do it that way. So there aren't a lot of big swing bigs out there.
This is why, the Lowry skill set that Waz was talking about, that can move the Thunder a little closer to the model that just won the Celtics the title. His willingness to shoot and the fact that he has such a high release point is such a huge difference. And if the Thunder are going to become the best version of themselves, whether through adding pieces or developing into that kind of team, there's going to be some important swing skills here too, which is J-Dub needs to get threes up faster. Alex Caruso needs to be willing to take on the catch immediately and not always be looking to facilitate and make the next play. These guys are good shooters and they need to trust in those shots, because they were guardable in the playoffs in a way where defenses like Dallas could swarm the inside, could collapse around Shea. That didn't stop Shea from putting up 30, but it did contain the rest of the operation. And so they do need at least more willing shooting, if not better shooters. And I think that is going to be an effective way to combat a lot of their problems.